Hi guys, welcome to 1UX1. Today's question was, why is UX design and research so complicated? So this is a question from a beginner who's saying, well, I don't understand the jargon, the language, user flows, user journeys, usability testing, user testing. What do these actually mean? And in the beginning, this can be quite complicated and difficult. Now, what I want to do is break these terminologies down and also help you understand that in the world of UX and generally in the IT space, fortunately or unfortunately, you have to know the lingo. It's just like lawyers and you get attorneys and they speak a certain language. And if you don't speak that language, you can't be a lawyer or an attorney. In the same way, to be a UX designer, you need to use certain terminology. I have a full video on terminology, so don't forget to watch that and subscribe. Also, don't forget to put down any questions you have below so I can make more videos for you. So in terms of the terminology, what you need to understand is that it will repeat itself throughout your career. So whichever job you go in, you're going to use pretty much the same terminology. Now, some people will say, for example, minimum viable product. Others will call it MVP. And MVP is obviously a shorter abbreviation and it's quicker to say. So when you get to use those words, like, for example, user journey. What is a user journey? And how does that differ to, for example, a user flow? Knowing those differences is really key to being able to do the job, because if you can't explain yourself when you're delivering a report or speaking to stakeholders, then it's going to show through even in an interview as well. So understanding those words is something you have to really make a list. So literally you have to write down a whole list of all new words that you learn in this video and other videos and blogs, and make your own list of terminology. So call it UX terminology, save it online or on Word, and then go through it on a regular basis. This will help you improve your chances of getting your job quicker, because in the interview, if you can speak like a UX professional, they will understand that you know what you're talking about. They'll understand that you know the language of the job itself. So for example, user testing and usability testing. I still find a lot of people still don't know the difference, even professional managers. So user testing is what we do before, when we want to discover the problem. So it's at the discovery phase in the beginning. And usability testing is afterwards, when you are testing a MVP, so a minimum viable product or a design or an iteration, and you want to test it, you do usability testing. So you need to know the difference, and that can come up actually in an interview as a question itself. But what's key here is that usability testing can also be done at the beginning of a job, because let's say you start a job as a UX researcher or UX designer, and there's already a design, there's already a prototype, there's already something to test, and you jump straight into usability testing. You wouldn't say in that job that you're doing user testing, because you need to know the difference between the two. So it depends on what phase the project is when you join that actual project. Another thing that's really important here is to understand the language of developers, because you're going to work with developers directly or indirectly. Sometimes you work with a developer because they are going to be a smaller team, and you're going to work with them directly. They're going to code whatever feedback you give them from the users. So the user said they don't like the navigation bar, or they don't like the images, then you might tell the developer that directly. On the other hand, you might indirectly tell them through a BA, a business analyst, or if you're a user researcher, you'll tell the UX designer, and the UX designer will speak to the developer. So when that happens, you don't need to know every technical detail. You don't need to know what software they use. They use things like Ruby on Rails and Splunk and all these really strange and wild and wonderful words. But you don't need to know that, but you do need to know that they are going to improve your product through whatever process they use in terms of coding, HTML, CSS, Java, whatever it might be. You just need to know the basics. You don't need to know what they actually do, but that they're aware of what you do and what you're aware of what they do. So if they say something like it's in deployment, you should just know what that means, i.e. they're getting it ready to go live. So words like that is what you need to know in terms of terminology from your colleagues. In terms of what you say, your language, the UX language, you can break it down for people who don't understand it. So when you're working in a team and you're going to explain, let's say you're delivering a user research report and you want to explain the pain points or the friction you can break it down and say, right, this is what users want, this is why they want it, and this is why it's a pain point, and this is what is friction. So friction might be where they can't even access a certain service or a page on the website. So you explain it to them, and we can break it down for them. And you should also expect the same from a developer. They should explain to you what they're saying. So because they may be using technical language, and it's completely fine to ask them what they mean. There's nothing wrong. It's not a weakness to ask questions during your job. So if you don't know something, even after many years, we still ask questions so we may not know. So don't forget to ask, and don't be ashamed or think that, oh, they might think you don't know what you're doing. So just ask away, it's absolutely fine. So use your list and add in their list of other terminology that your colleagues use so that you can have a comprehensive list of everything that everyone is saying. And that way you can really get to improve your skills and grow in your career, because the more you know, the more chances you have of going up the ladder, i.e. from junior, mid to senior, whether that's a UX designer or UX researcher, and you really get that opportunity to grow and excel in your career. And hopefully one day become a contractor on a daily rate so you can earn a huge amount more than you may in a permanent job. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget to subscribe.